Welcome back to the Anachroschism. Our sentient drone that hovers over places and records scenes for us is now shifting back to Willowdale, so we just kind of back across the valley.
It's good.
I do a good helicopter, thank you. There are no helicopters in this world that you know of.
Ooh,
Ooh.
There are no helicopters in this world.
I'm a
So-
helicopter.
The scene zooms back up in the air and then descends on Willowdale while inside the tavern there. The rest of the group has been invited over with Karash and Kava, and there are many drinks to be had. Kava, by the way, as the rest of the group approached, has taken that mask from you, Karash, that you picked up for her and put it back on. So it just covers up, the scarred part.
I see. So I take a seat, and while I'm sitting, I'm grabbing the drinks from the tray that Tessian is holding and kind of distributing them to.
And Tessian's trying to distribute them, but you keep taking them, and he's just like, hold on, I'm going.
Yeah, and then so while I'm doing this, I'm saying, so I've been giving it some thought, and I think I have a plan, Karash and Kava.
For
I say both.
plan for what?
So hear me out. We have now found quite a few Dragonborn. Daybeth, who is in what's her town's name?
Cigar Cove.
Cigar Cove, and Hassan. You said earlier that can't be what his name was.
Havan.
Havan. Thank
Havan,
you.
oh!
I was
I
like,
think.
Hassan.
That one's off
I'm
memory. but-
open to that,
That's
but I
correct.
didn't think I remember that. And where's he? He's still in the where we left him,
Yes.
where we found him. And as we continue to find more Dragonborn, I was thinking, what if we made a hub for them, a place to gather in Sagara Cove, where our house already is. Daybeth is there. She can welcome them. It can be kind of a safe haven where we can gather, and then maybe when the time is right, you can go back to your island. We gather the your people, and we go together, and we take back your home, rather than just leaving all the Dragonborn kind of helter-skelter all over the country.
Why would there are not that many rooms in the house? There's
Well, I was
many
thinking
more Dragonborn.
this place they could expand, they could build more onto the house, or have additional houses. That's a smaller detail that I'm confident we can figure out. But wouldn't you rather have them gather in one place? Doesn't have to be Sakara Cove, but
There are some gathered already. If they choose to go there, they may.
gathered where?
Kava looks over at this, and in common for the first time, she says, "There are a few of us in the Alter Archipelago."
Oh, I was debating saying it. I was not debating. Never. We're
I
trying
see.
to remember the name.
No, she seems
thought
like
you forgot,
She
so-
feels like
Cool, go, Mom.
if you trust them, she's good with it. She
Do I-
says,
Go ahead.
but I suppose that there is something that to be said for a place that they could go if they were looking for something easier to get to. It has been difficult at times to take Dragonborn out to the islands. If there are some looking for a place to stay, and there's just a couple of stragglers, perhaps we could send them your way?
Tessian speaks up, and he's like, well, I've actually been giving this some thought since you have shared your quest with us, Karash. And I have considered approaching my mother about what has happened to your people and offering an invitation, an alliance, a loose one perhaps. I know things are touch and go with your people and your culture, but, Black Harbor is my family's, and it is right there next to the Alter Archipelago, and we could... I guess what I'm saying is if your people needed a place where they could be protected and safe, I would be willing to try to find a protected status for you amongst my family's city.
I give Tessian just a quick side eye. Especially when he says the word alliance, I'm like, I see, but I don't say anything, and I don't really want to do anything that anyone else will like catch on to too much, but it's there. I decide it's better saved till another time.
Thank you. If some wish to go to Black Harbor, I will send them there.
This is good, actually. It may mean that if we tell people where they can go, that there are many to choose from, and if whichever people are closest to, they can make their way there, and perhaps they can travel in groups. One of the problems I have seen in my travels is many Dragonborn have stayed in one place by themselves for fear of traveling, because, as you know, there are dangers in traveling, especially if one is not proficient with weapons. If they cannot defend themselves, I have found they are often more likely to stay wherever they have found a home on the mainland and not wish to journey to a place that could be more convenient for us. So this could be a good thing indeed.
And Tessian's like, well, it's obviously up to you, but I, now that you're here, and I assume you have some sort of position of power amongst your people, I felt maybe it was the time. I would still need to discuss it with my mother, of course, but I would like to think that your people and mine could be allies, trade partners, perhaps. That may be a little forthcoming of myself, given your current situation, but, you know, I feel you can always have more friends out there in the world. Someone to watch your back, and an extra pair of eyes, especially on the high seas.
Mother is not the leader of our clan. That is Utajin. And have you heard anything of Utajin, Mother?
I have not. She was hard to find on the day of the attack, and I do not know why. And I have not heard anyone that I have come across speak of her since I have come to the mainland myself. She was not among the bodies that I saw fall that day, but I do not know what happened to her. In fact, I had not seen her in the hours leading up to the attack. I think that she still lives, but her silence does stick out a bit.
I cannot believe even Bariv would allow his own mother to be slain.
I would not think so, but it is difficult to put much past him after what he did. If he was not of right mind, there's no telling what he might have done.
I do not wish to know. But if we have places we can send people to be safe, that is good. Gathering them, even if in many places, would be a start.
Who remains on the island? Is it Bariv's people? Have they moved in? Do they run the place now, so to speak, or is it abandoned?
It was abandoned, right? I'm not
you were
crazy.
talking about the old home. Okay, I thought
The Blue Isles are empty, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
she kind of
that's
explains to you what they talked about earlier, which, you know, in the short version is basically their place was razed.
Okay.
And it was not Bariv's people per se. It was Bariv and a bunch of humans and other sellswords. There were no other Dragonborn besides Bariv who were involved in the attack. So he basically betrayed the entire clan in the process of razing it to the ground. And she tells you guys about that. So it's a little bit of extra details you didn't have before.
I don't actually know how much of this Tessian has had before. I think he has not been privy to basically
any of it.
Any of your backstory at this point?
Yeah, I think Tessian's actually missed out the couple times he has gone into it for various reasons.
Tessian's like, I must say, the presence of wiping an entire people out is... You have to understand, the coast is my home. I mean, no offense, we're far better defended than you, but their presence on the ocean is not on the seas is not a good sign. I feel I need to share this information with my mother. And he kind of starts to drift off a little bit in thought. He's a little shaken by the fact that someone is apparently good enough to just roll in and kill off a whole people. So,
If you have not heard of such a group. Have you heard of who might have been working with Bariv? Or, yeah, Mother?
What?
I'm asking Mom if she has any idea who it was
Okay.
that was working with Bariv.
I see. She says, I have seen others wearing similar armor to those that came and attacked our island that day. Black as the night, leather-bound. They all wear the same type. And they were also the group that, when occasionally I found our people enslaved, were the ones keeping them. You can put two and two together. She's speaking about the blades. She may
Yeah.
know the
Okay.
name
Yeah, I
of
figured
them.
as much, but
Yeah.
the blades of indemnity, Mother. But
That's fine. That's what Karash would say.
Indemnion.
And I'll
They-
form the head.
I'm gonna in Draconic just ask her if she's heard of the town of Indemnity. Just
And she basically goes, no, that's not something I've really come across in my travels. I've been to many a place, but I have not heard of a place like that.
We've had a few run-in with this group, Kava. I don't know if Karash has told you, but they're definitely in the short time we've been traveling, they're high up on our list of enemies.
Tessian gives Isaac a bit of a look, and it's a serious one. And he's like, it would appear their leadership has plans more far-reaching than we thought originally, if they are taking to the seas to cultivate people, and the coast. This is rather worrisome.
Well, the one thing that we have learned from all this, besides the fact that Bereave must pay, is that we cannot be so carefree and isolated as we were before. As much as I enjoyed our life, it also made us subject to an attack like what happened. We did not believe that someone among our numbers could betray us as such, so the damage was much worse than it should have been, which is why the folks at the archipelago are on the lookout now for anyone suspicious, for anyone that should not be there. We will not make the same mistake twice.
What was the details of the betrayal? I only ask because we're trying to glean any information that we can to find who did this, find more Dragonborn, whatever benefit we can. How did Bereave betray you?
I know some... Oh, go ahead.
he led soldiers and slavers to our home, and they killed and burned and took. I don't think you understand. It was not complicated.
Karash, you're right. I don't understand. Was it simply a matter of when you say betrayal, he led them through a back way, or by simply revealing your presence where maybe it was not known before? That was the betrayal.
I do not understand what he did or why he did it exactly, but Pierce told them that there were many people on our islands, and they came and they killed and captured all of us.
There were people who knew that we lived there. We were not an unknown. But we did not think that one of our own kind would go so far as to turn on an entire people. Our clan believes in loyalty above all else. So to see someone exploit that for reasons that I do not understand still, that I would love to beat out of him before cutting his head off. I wish I knew more. I just know that you could see him turning away from his people. It didn't seem like that at the time. It just seemed like he was upset. He was quicker to anger, but we did not think he was capable of something like this.
He was always a difficult person, but this is not the behavior of anyone from our clan. even bad people, if we have ever had them, it does not happen.
I understand. I don't want to broach any uncomfortable topics, so I'll stop. But I just to not near the extent that you do, but I so badly want to find him, and I want justice for your people, and I want you to have that happy ending again, united, not scattered all over this country.
Thea kind of chimes in at this point, and she's sort of saying this to Tessian, but it's still addressed to the group. She says, "You know, the more I hear about this, the more it troubles me a bit. It's one thing for a group of ragtag people like the Blades, especially the lower ranks, to be mobilized on the land, but for them to have been taken out on the sea in that type of numbers, that's not a move that just happens. That takes more coordination. That takes either collecting or renting ships. That takes... I guess what I'm saying is maybe there's something to this. Maybe there's more that we can find out as to how they accomplished this. And perhaps that trail could lead somewhere."
Tessian nods.
Slave groups, as a group of people good for picking as slaves, our clan was almost ideal. We are largely peaceful and left alone and largely unknown and ignored because we do not do anything of value, or we fish and we farm small plots, but we do not have resources like your great cities.
And Thea says, "I agree, and perhaps that is my hope. My thinking is perhaps when the opportunity presented itself, if Bereave sold out your people, in their rush to capitalize on such a great opportunity as they would see it, even though it pains me to say that, maybe they made a mistake."
Did anything that we find in the remember the guy that Karash tortured horribly, and we went to his office? Was there anything there that we maybe found that didn't make sense at the time that would make more sense now in any of the documentation or anything like that? Orders
sure
or
just pretty generic, like, shipments from here. That he was helping move the slaves, and obviously we kind of can piece together that he's probably part of a very important port operation that probably, given Sagariko's location, probably served the people that brought in Karash's people. If we're lining things up on a map, there's a good chance. But
that documentation was more specific to going from Sakara Cove to the Sanguine Stronghold.
Correct. It wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't anything. It didn't list the sources for.
But
things
this was
like
also years before that, so any such documentation might have already been put in a different place or even gotten rid of entirely because it was further back. The Sanguine Stronghold thing had happened recently, from what you saw looking through those documents. This was, you don't know exactly when, but you understand at least a couple years ago, if not 3.
To Thea's point, and what concerns me is that movement of this kind, this number, is akin to amassing an army underneath the eyes of the Empress. This is not something that can just happen easily or overnight. This takes sizable resources and time and planning. I suspect that this is not the end goal here. I don't think a slaving operation can be done with a single ship. But this spans all of Aramea from the sounds of it, from what we've seen.
It would be one thing if they traveled out if he had brought an army to take over, and if Bereave had wanted to run the Blue Isles himself, you could accomplish that with any sort of ships, whatever could hold enough people. But to bring that many people as forces and have the room to bring back whatever of your people they could take, to me that seems like too much of an undertaking unless somebody very high up with the Blades was involved.
Well, it's something to think about for sure, but tonight is, I think, a reason to celebrate, not be downcast in in all of the serious talk. So, what do you say we cheers to finding Kava?
And she grabs one of the mugs, one of the bigger ones, holds it up to cheers. She's fine. She's on board.
Cool. I'm in.
Yep. If they're in, Tessian's in.
Cool.
Clink.
Clink.
Yeah.
Chug.
She downs the entire mug in what is essentially 2 big gulps.
Sounds about right.
I don't drink at all, but it's okay.
Tessian drinks.
Yeah.
She slams
Yeah.
the mug on the table when she's done. Just a Thea is not that fast either, but she says,
What?
"It is actually a shame, Karash. I just missed the drinking competition they have here. I suspect you might have been good at it as well."
I do okay. We can always have our own competition.
Here, here, says Tessian.
Kava kind of like shakes her head with a smile on her face. She says, "I do not think that is wise."
I'm gonna interconic. We might end up killing one of them.
Yes, and if there were some kind of money on the line, I perhaps would not be opposed to it, but if your friends are setting it off to travel tomorrow and we're going to make them drunk under the table or kill them from the amount of alcohol we're going to have, I don't know, it just doesn't seem that funny, you know?
I mean, it would be pretty funny, but I do not like having to lead horses, so it is for the best.
Killing from alcohol is probably my cue to go, and I kind of get up and I say it was a pleasure meeting you, and I hope we can see you more tomorrow before we leave. And if you're welcome to join us as well on the next leg of our journey.
Where are you headed next?
What's the city's name?
Are we going to
Not Timberbrook.
Timberbrook? No.
Glen Kogo.
Glen Kogo?
Mhm.
Glen Kogo. Glen, we're going to Glen Kogo.
I am actually heading to the east, so I cannot travel with you, but I will see you off in the morning.
You are leaving?
I
Yeah.
bow and step away. So you guys can go.
She says, "As much as I would love to spend time with you, if your journey takes you in that direction, I have all the more reason to go in the opposite. Continue searching."
How will I find you again? I can't. I just found you. What? No.
Look, I understand. I do, and it pains me to leave as well, but especially seeing you as you are now, I do not think you to be in any danger. And likewise, I would trust that you think I can handle my own. Our paths will cross again, especially now that you know where our people are being finding a new life for themselves.
Will you leave word of your whereabouts when you meet our more of our people?
That should be fine, yes, and if I should stumble upon Bereave, you would be the first I send word to.
Don't send word. Send his head.
It's a bit heavy for a pigeon to carry, but I'll see what I can do.
You get a courier.
I suppose if I was ever going to splurge for such an occasion, that would be the one.
And I can't. I do not wish to be parted, but I cannot be in two places. It is best if we continue searching separately. And now you can spread word of places to gather. And I may not see many of our people for some time.
When you were younger, I would perhaps have been more worried about looking out for you, but you no longer need my protection, Karash. And if anything, if you have found something with Cord, perhaps he can provide even more than I could.
He, he, he is not my mother.
Well, I am thankful you do not think that. But still, if he rescued you once, that's more than I was able to do for you when the attack happened.
That I feel like you were clearly preoccupied.
I was, and I don't regret my decision, but I do think back and I wonder what else I could have done, or if I made the right one. I do think I was able to help quite a few people, but I was not there for you, and I was not there for Sharhan. So perhaps I chose poorly.
You are alive, and now you can help gather our people again. There's nothing to be ashamed of in this.
Yes, there is something to be said for that. As long as I draw breath, I still have a chance for revenge.
We will get revenge. I have reason to believe that is my purpose with Cord. He is a god of war, not a god of flowers and soft things.
Well, then perhaps he is just the person to have in our corner at a time like this.
It would seem so. Do you have a place to stay tonight, or do you use one of the inns?
I have a room at the inn, yes, and we can check with the man who ran the event, but I suspect as their new champion, they could set you and your friends up as well.
Do I have to do anything for him?
I do not think so.
Oh.
I think you have already proven yourself. That doesn't remind me, I have not seen him come by, though, since we came in here.
Does that matter?
Well, he had said he would bring you your prize. I don't know
What?
that was your reward for... There was some gold in it if you were the best in the tug-of-war contest. It's, I'll admit, a small part of why I was participating myself. I am still a prideful creature. I came here for information, but a chance to show my strength was ideal, and to make a bit more spending money as I travel could not hurt. But I am not upset that if I were to lose to someone, it was you.
I do take after your side.
Yes, I'm quite thankful for that. I must know more of your travels, though. And she's kind of looking at Tessie and Thea now, since Isaac's already gone. She seems kind of curious, you know. What has Karash been up to in your time with him to this point?
Tessian's like, quite a bit, actually. And I'm not going to... Tessian will tell the story, like, you know, there was a hag, and there was
Sea hags.
The sea hags, and we had the blades, and we dismantled the slaving ring, and then there were harpies on the way to take down a keep full of slavers. Like, he's gonna give the whole spiel, the whole thing, and he'll embellish here and there. You know, about Karash striking down, like, you know, a dragon with mighty smites and things like that. And he's had a little booze, so he'll, you know, he's very into it. You know, he can use a little prestidigitation, and then with the mighty, and he brings like his hand down, and, you know, adds a good little lightning sound effect to it. You know, struck the creature low.
She perks up at 2 points in particular, assuming it comes up. One is the succubus.
Yeah, he'll be like, and we did run afoul a strange demonic creature, succubus. It managed to worm its way into some of our minds, but Karash, he stood strong.
So she likes that part, and she perks up at the mention of the dragon, which of course was the first stop at the shrine of Zenithra, and she's also, you know, kind of inquisitive about that. Thea also can't help herself, and she chimes in at one point. She goes, "He's also learning how to read and write." And Kava seems a little surprised by this, but she says, "That is good. It will come in handy on the mainland. It is something that we did not have much need for on the islands, but I find myself wishing that I could read many a time. It would be useful here. I can at least speak to the people, but if he is learning," and she kind of looks over at you, Karash, "then that will be good for you."
It is very helpful. There is writing everywhere in these towns.
Yeah, she kind of like nods. She goes, "I have seen that as well. It is all strange to me, but I'm sure there is value and meaning in it."
Have you heard the stories they tell? The novels? They are ridiculous and full of lies, but some of them find them interesting.
She says, "I have not, but I have heard tell of strange stories over a campfire with someone I was traveling with at the time, or in a town once people have had a few drinks. I always figured it was just tales to make people feel better about themselves. But perhaps there is some truth to them, too."
But some of them are people that did not exist ever. They are just ideas. I do not understand why you would want to listen to a story about someone who was not.
You know, Karash, I was never really sure what the right time to tell you this was, but even some of the stories back on the island were at least a little bit untrue.
Oh no.
There it is. Santa Claus. Santa Claus.
I feel you are old enough now that I can tell you this to you.
I got this. I was actually... Mother, I must admit, the sea caves that we are told to never go into as children, I have been there. There were no monsters. I have known for many years.
Well, this is good, then. I am not telling you something you did not already know. But yes, there were no monsters. We just said that because all the young Dragonborn kept wandering into it, and we'd have to go pull them out every day.
Well, they were quite dangerous. I many times was worried I had gotten lost. And it is very, very dark.
So you see, we told those stories as a way to scare people off, and over time, I guess some people started thinking of them as fun tales that you could tell around a campfire or use to spook someone. They took a life of their own, you know? I suspect for the mainlanders, it's probably the same thing.
They are very strange.
Tessian looks to Crash's mother, whose name I keep...
Kava.
Kava?
Rhymes with Java.
Okay, there you go. Can't remember if it's an A or no. Kava, and he's like, "Well, we've told you of Crash's travels. What of your own? Do you have plans to head to Black Harbor by chance?"
She first kind of answers the question by going over some of what she has been, and it sounds like, as she tells it, her primary focus of the last few months has been on the northern stretch of Aramea, basically north of here, going all the way west to Waychester, and that she's been heading through those areas on occasion. In regards to Black Harbor, she says, "I did not have much reason to go there before now, but if you suspect that there is something there that we could be sending people to, perhaps I will journey there myself and get a sense of the town and speak to people there."
And Tessian's like, well, one moment. And he's going to go to the barkeep, the guy behind the counter, whoever it is, and he's going to ask if they've got, like, something to write with, like pen, ink, parchment, and like sealing wax. Like if he's got stuff for himself to write and send messages here.
And they do. And since you're already a paying customer, he does not mind loaning them to you.
Okay. Tessian's just going to write up a quick note there at the counter. Well, no, I think if he'll hand it to him, Tessian will take it back to the table.
Okay.
And he'll kind of explain to Kava. He's like, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a letter on my behalf. Should you find yourself in Black Harbor, simply show it to any of the guardsmen or anyone there. They should be able to direct you towards my mother. This should allow you at least some goodwill on my behalf. And he's basically just going to write a, dear mother, this dragonborn is the mother of a traveling companion of mine. You should listen to her story. I think there is a great risk on the ocean, and we should consider trying to take offering her and her people umbrage, at least until they can reestablish themselves, and we can find some semblance of order on the high seas or whatever, and then sign it. Your loving son, Tessian Black II, yada yada yada, and then he'll roll it up and sealing wax, use his ring to put the seal on it, and then he'll pass it to Kava.
Okay. She looks at it with some confusion because she doesn't know what she wrote.
Yeah, and he kind of tries to explain the gist of it. He's like, yeah.
And you're able to communicate it pretty quickly enough. But yeah, she has no idea what that ink on that page means.
But he does. He's like this symbol here, and the little lightning bolt and the wax. He's like, this is the symbol of my family. If you show them this, they should know that it comes from me. Only so many people have this ring. And then he hands it to her.
Well, I thank you. Anything that can be done to help gather our people, I appreciate. And I also want to thank you and your companions for going with my son. It is nice to see him finding a new clan of sorts, but more importantly, people that can watch his back as he does for them.
He's been a pillar of strength within our group, and he has always been there to protect and defend us. I don't know that we'd be here today without him.
Karash, are you blushing?
I'm just kind of like standing there, kind of not really speaking. I'm like awkward.
Are you constipated? Is that what's happening?
Nope.
Yeah, bad drinks. Good thing you didn't have
Doesn't
any.
want to toot his own horn. Doesn't want to disagree because it's still kind of pretty
true.
awesome. I know I am. Sure.
And Tessian can sense that, no, maybe it's getting a little too touchy-feely for a crash. And so he's like, yeah. But you know what? We'll leave you to be. I'm sure we can get some rooms here and crash for the night. So it's been a pleasure meeting you, Kava, and I hope to see you again. And he'll extend his hand again to see if she can pick up on what the whole point is.
And she shakes it.
Okay.
She gets handshakes. Just didn't trust you before.
Okay.
Didn't know you enough.
That's good. That's good. He's not left hanging this time.
Yes.
It feels complete now.
Yeah, you get the full arm clasp.
Okay. Good.
Pencil
and-
pusher.
Pushing too many pencils.
Isaac, were you up to anything in particular, or you just headed off?
Yes. It's
'Kay.
evening, right? At least.
It is now, yes.
I'm traveling around the town to find my whipping boy's house,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to find it and see if he's still there.
Okay. I'm thinking about what I want to do for this. I am going to have you make... Used to be dungeoneering.
Medicine.
That was easy. Survival. Make a survival check.
Holy shit! You're jumped by the gangs of Willowdale.
The house that he lived in falls on you.
5.
Okay. It does take you a while. Even though it's not that big of a town and you have a sense of what the place was, you wander about for the better part of an hour trying to pinpoint this exactly, because the place you think it is, you pass and it's not it. But after some time searching, what you realize is the house is different than what you remember, and it's why you're not able to find it exactly. It has changed. And as you survey it from the outside, you can even kind of see inside the windows, because it's just gotten dark by the time you're out searching. It's darker by the time their scene ends. The family inside is not the family that you're expecting. But you look around at the surrounding area, and you're pretty confident, like, yeah, this was the place. But either they moved and somebody else built a different house on it or something. Something's been kind of throwing you off, but it does not seem like he is there.
So I'm like talking to myself. I'm like, this is stupid. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna say? What are you hoping to get? Do you think he even wants to see you? Stupid, stupid. And I say this up to walking up to the front and like pausing and thinking and like turning and then turning again and deciding to give the door a few raps.
There is a pause, and it seems kind of quiet inside, and you know there's people in there from the outside. But after a moment passes, and you're relatively perceptive overall, so you can kind of just see like somebody peeks their head into the window just to get an angle on who's at the door. Eventually, there is a decently old-looking half-elf woman who opens the door, and she says, "Yes."
Howdy there, ma'am. I'm looking for a certain fella. I can tell just by your appearance that he's no longer here, but I'm looking for a Darius.
She thinks for a moment. She says, that was a nice boy. The son of the people who used to live here. Yes, it's been, I don't know, we've been here for a little over 2 years now since they moved away. I don't know where they went after here.
Golly, 2 years. And no recollection? They didn't even maybe mention where they'd be headed next?
We didn't really cross paths much. My husband handled some of that, but even then, I don't know that he would remember. We just purchased the land from them when they seemed eager to take their shop somewhere else. Not a literal shop. A figurative shop.
Oh, dear. Well, did you happen to cross paths with them at any point? I'm curious into how they appeared when you did. Would you say they were happy?
I only saw them the once when we were fixing to move in ourselves, but they seemed like a normal family.
And did you ever see Darius?
He was there. I don't know. He seemed fine. She seems like at this point like she doesn't understand this line of questioning anymore.
That's all right. She doesn't have to.
Yeah.
All right then. Well, I suppose that's good to hear. You have a good night, ma'am.
All right. You as well.
And I just
close the door.
I'll take my shitty accent and leave.
Actually, you can keep that.
Oh, here you are, ma'am.
Take the change.
I'm gonna just head back, I guess, do some thinking.
So when you guys make your way, for the brevity's sake here, when you guys make your way to the inn, rooms have been arranged for you, and there's also a note from the man who is organizing the tug of war, along with a pouch that has 45 gold in it.
Oh, hot damn.
Basically just said, here's the prize. It's addressed to Karash, but it says, like, here's the prize. It seemed like you were having a moment, and I didn't want to interrupt. So he just dropped it off there. He didn't, like, skip town with your money. He's got it all taken care of for you. Anything else you guys wish to do in the evening?
I'm gonna turn in.
Stay up with Mom as late as humanly possible.
Okay. You guys can kind of catch up some more and
drink.
Sure, and she'll pepper you with some extra questions about some of the stuff Tessian described and all that jazz. She seems interested in your tales, and she has a few of her own that have more specifics too. You know, you guys are troublemakers of a sort, so there are multiple stories that just come across as almost like normal, whereas other people would be like, "Wait, what? You did what?" So.
A little bit of motherly pride when I describe hacking off another human being's limbs or another being's limbs.
Less than you're hoping for, but a little still.
Yeah. Take it.
Yeah. So, Tessie, anything, or you and Thea just turn in?
I say we just turn in. I mean, the plan seems to be... Tessian's, like, trying to stay upbeat because he knows Thea's going to be leaving soon. So he's trying to make the best of it, but he's also a little, like... Meh. Meh. She's gone away, guys. I gotta say.
She's gone. Oh, back to the ranch.
Ooh,
Meanwhile,
back at the ranch.
Back on the ranch. Supper's great. Delicious. It's a little bit too much food for 4 people, but Grail, you in particular, this does not shock you, given your mom's propensity to play and host. But it does a nice job of filling you up after a busy day's work, where you both find you're hungrier than you expected. Because you, well, Lena, you've never really worked like that before, and Grail, it's been a while. And while you kind of fall into an old rhythm, you're still like, oh yeah, this is actually a hard living to make. Your parents kind of move to clear the table afterwards, and it just leaves you and Lena at the table, awkwardly, or not, depending on how you guys want to go about it.
I'm gonna be quiet. I mean, and if anyone like asks me a question or something, I'll respond. But I'll be kind of keeping my eyes on the window, just looking outside. I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, and I'm not really saying much either. I think I'm just kind of enjoying like the peacefulness of being home and with my family. And we've talked a lot, and so I'm kind of just enjoying the quiet space.
Is there a clock in the house that's just like...
Yeah, I can imagine that.
There is, yes, in the sitting room, which is still audible from the dining room.
That's nice. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna quietly eat and not really say a whole lot, which I imagine was kind of common with my family.
Yep. In fact, that's the nice thing about it is it doesn't feel awkward. It just feels like falling into an old rhythm. Where now you've played catch up the last couple days and gone over everything that's happened since, and even touched on some of the more troublesome subjects, like one Holden. Now it's kind of like, well, we don't need to fill the whole conversation for 30 minutes. Like, it's just nice to be around people, share a meal, and so it doesn't feel bad. If anything, it feels more normal. So the question, I guess, is: are you guys going to do anything before bed? And if not, who's taking first watch?
I want to take first watch. I mean, I can kind of picture us playing like a game like cribbage or something like that, like with the family, like my mom or something, or my dad before everyone goes to bed. But like, yeah, I imagine everyone kind of just trails off after dinner.
Lena has no idea what cribbage is, so she would be enthusiastic to learn a game and just have some downtime, fun. Distract her a little bit.
Yeah, I'd be like magic cribbage or something. I don't know, like something a little bit different, but that'd be fun.
It could just be regular cribbage. We don't have to put magic as a prefix for things.
This is fantasy cribbage.
Is there a clock in the house? A magic clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they'll play doubles with you.
Cool.
And after teaching Lena the basics, your parents proceed to team up against you. Lena, go ahead and make an intelligence check.
Oh, God.
Can you guys teach me the basics? I don't know how to play cribbage.
I can.
Oh, cribbage. It's so fun. I just learned it recently.
Intelligence.
I've been playing cribbage for like 25 years.
Really? I never knew how, but I had cribbage boards when I was a kid, but I didn't know how to use them.
16.
It's the only time that you can peg for your grandma and not have it be weird. And there goes Mike. 16? Yeah.
Yes.
It is a little rough at first, but you do feel like, you've seen cards before. It's not this particular game, but you're able to pick it up pretty quickly. And although Grail's parents stomped the hell out of you in the first game because they clearly played together a lot, the two of you hold your own in the second game and eke out a small win in the third.
Nice.
Aww.
But you get skunked in the first game, so that actually counts as 2 losses. But no one's actually really keeping score. Cribbage is more about playing for fun than it is about scorekeeping. So,
Sounds good.
Anybody who actually plays cribbage will know what that word means. If not, don't worry about it.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds good. And then when I probably notice after the third game that my mom especially is probably flagging a little bit because we were working really hard all day. And so I imagine I would kind of like, take a, sit back and just say like, maybe it's time for bed.
Yep. And they kind of push away from the table too. They can tell they're both kind of tired. Whether that's from today or overall or both, could be anything, but it's 8:30, so it must be bedtime.
Yeah. They're olds, capital O, olds.
Yeah, and they get up early. So.
They do. Okay, and so I'll just kind of I'll stand up when they stand up, and I'll give both of them hugs and a kiss on the cheek, and just say, I'll keep watch. I'll protect the place.
And your dad kind of gives you a nod. He says, "All right, just don't stay up too late. Be careful, and if you stay out too much, you know your mom's gonna wake you up at 5 a.m. again."
I know, that's why I'm taking first watch. I'll take the dogs out as well, just to keep things a little lively and make sure if there's any sounds at all, they'll find them. It'll be all fine, I hope.
And they say goodnight to you both and head up to the bedroom.
Most excellent. So I turn to Lena, and again, I say, like, y'all really don't have to do this. I can keep watch all night. I feel like it's my responsibility.
And then I say I don't mind helping. I think I don't need much sleep anyway, so I would much rather spend my time protecting your family than anything else. So I'm here for you.
And I kind of like I'm happy to hear that, but it also, like, there's a part of me that is like stubborn and like I want to do it myself. And so I'm just kind of like, you already helped so much today, and I really appreciate it. And I say, like, and then I just pause, and then I just say, who am I kidding? I would appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry. Sometimes I get protective of my family, and I wanna do all I can. But I really appreciate your willingness as well, and it means a lot to me.
You're welcome. I understand the sentiment of protecting family and how strong that instinct is. So anything I can do to help. Yeah, and it's also like, I don't know, like I just feel that responsibility, and we were just such independent people out here, and it's hard to ask for help. That's something that I've really learned traveling with y'all, is that we're a team, we're a family of our own, and making our own decisions for our own sake doesn't really seem to get us very far. It's when we rely on each other. You know what I'm saying? And I nod and I say, yes, it's something I've been realizing is important as well. With the Sowenwood being so isolated and closed off, there isn't really a sense of trust outside of our home, and learning to foster that with others has been a very important learning experience for me. And I offer a smile as well and say, I'm glad that you understand where I'm coming from, but and then I kind of nod again and like steel myself and say, thank you again. I would appreciate your help for the watch tonight. I give her a nod, and gosh, what am I gonna do? I'll say I'll be upstairs doing a little bit of meditation, but come and get me once second watch is ready. Absolutely, will do. Have a good night. Thank you. You as well. All right, and then I'm gonna go out to the front, and I'll probably, if I have a good view of the road from there, I'll probably hang out there for the majority of my watch, but I'll also do a couple rounds with the dogs, just to make sure there's no funny business near the fence that we just repaired, and just do kind of a circuit a couple times.
Two of the sheep unzip.
Yeah.
And then the two of them step out.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, shit. Go make a perception check for first watch, Grail.
Okay. Not persuasion again.
Ranch, there's nothing happening here tonight.
Yeah. I got a 7. Not that good.
So as you wander about the perimeter and also just kind of keep a watch by the front door looking at the road that leads in from the north, you kind of find your mind wandering because, there's a lot going on. It's been a busy few days. You seemingly avoided or at least saw to fruition some kind of dream, and that worked out all right. Your dad was in danger at one point. They farm kind of got threatened. The group split up. Right, a lot to take in. And as your mind kind of wanders, it can't even help itself really, because in the familiar environs, you're still keeping an eye out, but you're also kind of like, it's nice to be home, and you just start thinking about all sorts of stuff. Nothing really catches your eye for those 4 hours or so that you keep an eye on things at the front and around the perimeter. The sheep are sheep. The moon is mostly full. The place is relatively quiet. You check on the barn at one point. Less noisy inside, now that you patch the hole. Things seem fine.
Cool. Okay.
Gonna go wake Lena up. Tell her to take over.
Yeah, I'll quietly. She's upstairs. Yeah, I'll kind of quietly go up the stairs, avoiding all of the stretches of wood that I know make creaking noises to avoid waking my parents, and yeah, I'll just like very softly kind of like rap on the door with the back of my hand, and ease the door open a little bit just to let her know that I'm here.
And she's not there.
Whoa!
No! What twist, man!
Yeah, man. But she is there.
Yes. Did I do the thing?
Make a nature check.
Nature. Okay.
Do the thing.
That's exciting.
Doing the thing.
Julie. Do the thing.
23.
Oh, she did the thing.
She did a thing!
So you are also somewhat troubled just because you know Grail's out there and who knows what might happen tonight. But you do manage to lock in. You start to feel like you're getting a better grasp of things. The problem is that even as you understand these feelings that come up as you meditate, they're still difficult to lock down. The feeling is still northwest, but the sense that you get, since this is a pretty good result, is like you're going to have to be closer. It's not necessarily a matter as much of a matter of being attuned to something or getting a better understanding as it is you're just not close enough to get a direct sense of where this is headed.
Okay.
So you learn something, but not a ton because you are not all that close to whatever this is.
Yeah. Well, it's helpful, if nothing else.
And then you hear a rapping on the door.
Okay, so then... so I'll quickly spring up and then open the door.
And I kind of just, like I see her and I just say, it's been all clear all night. Hopefully the watch will be just as quiet as it was for me and for you.
I hope so too. I'll get a good night's rest. I'll be back in the morning. And I'm tempted to turn into my cat form now and then go out the window, but then I remember the whole thing about like falling and I want to do that again. So I'm probably just gonna just make my way to the front door. And then as I exit, I'll go into my cat form and then start making the rounds and maybe even venture a little outside of the like fencing and stuff just to see if there's anything to see out there.
No, I gotta ask Grail. You said you adjusted before you opened the door. You were like, I adjust. Is this like, are you like doing up your hair a little bit?
Oh, no. Did I say that? But sure, I did that. Totally. I mean, I imagine I kind of like, was like looking all grimy after like walking around in the stuff. So I probably just like pulled my hair back.
I
And
just wanted to know how pretty you were making yourself before you opened
I
the door.
probably just
That was
like,
all.
I combed my like hair with my fingers and just was like, I don't want to look like garbage. And
You don't have to
Lena's
make
so-
excuses for me.
Lena's
I
so
just-
pretty.
She would
I'm
die if she heard you say that.
I'm just a farm girl.
Living in a lonely farm world.
Okay,
Yeah.
I wanted to, mental picture, continue with your cat story outside.
Yeah, just stealthing, you know.
So Lena, go and make a perception check.
Okay, as a cat.
Grail, make a wisdom saving throw.
Oh, glorious.
Stealthy cat does whatever a stealthy cat does.
Is this the dream?
23 again.
Jesus Christ.
14.
Okay. Lena, as you're patrolling around the outside, Some of the sheep give you a slightly strange look because they don't recognize this animal. But they don't really give a shit. So they just sit there and do sheep things.
Eating grass,
There is a point at which the wind picks up momentarily, and the sheep seem just the slightest bit startled by it, but nothing really comes of it. And the rest of the time, as you're kind of wandering about, you don't see anybody, and you don't hear anything that seems out of place. And unlike Grail, who was sort of lost in thought and not necessarily getting the full sense of things, you were pretty sure that you're sharp, especially coming in the second leg of this. You feel like if there had been something, I would have noticed.
Okay. I'll go back in, I guess, once the watch is over.
The sun just starts. Well, I mean, the sun doesn't even really start to rise. You just see the light on the horizon as the sun's starting to get to where it would rise.
Yeah.
And the sun attacks.
Yeah. Okay.
14, Grail.
Yep.
You're able to fall asleep pretty quickly. Long day, going to bed even later because of watch. You have a busy day ahead of you tomorrow and an early one at that. So despite the fact that there's still some things troubling you, you fall asleep pretty quickly. And then, about halfway through your time sleeping, I was going to say through the night, but that's not necessarily true, but nothing happens. A night without dreams, which means you get a good amount of rest for the shortened time that you have. And in some senses, as you wake up, as the dawn hits, this time not even needed to be woken at all. Just somehow your body's like, okay, I'm back in this kind of feeling of what happens here, so I'm awake at this time. It's kind of a relief as you wake up. In some ways, you're disappointed. In some ways, you're relieved because nothing happened.
Okay.
So, it is the next morning for everyone. The sun rises at almost the same time, although I suppose Willowdale's a little more east, but whatever. As I learned from Persona 5, elevation matters sometimes more than latitude and longitude for when you see the sunrise.
Gosh.
I hated that question.
Yeah.
We will pick up next time with all of these groups with their final day apart before they reunite and see what happens with the Willowdale folks as they presumably head to Glen Cogo, the ranch folks as they presumably head to chore time, and what in the world is happening and everywhere else in the world. So yeah, we'll see you next time.
Bye.